Welcome to this Astrenty video. Now, if you're on this video, I assume you're interested in getting started with the CIMA exams. Well, if you are, let's just jump right into the first few steps to becoming a Chartered Global Management Accountant. Now, starting off, you need to actually register with CIMA. This is a requirement in order to actually sit the exams and maintain your qualification. However, you don't actually need to be registered to apply for a course with a provider. Naturally, though, we assume that if you're revising for CIMA, you do also want a qualification out of it in the end. So if this is your first time doing the CIMA qualification, just bear that in mind. You do need to register with CIMA to get your qualifications in the first place. Now, that bit is fairly simple. The next bit will require a bit of a decision on your part. So you actually have two routes you can take when applying to the CIMA exam. The first is the standard path. This means you start at certificate level, completing your BA1 through 4 exams before moving on to the operational level and up the CIMA pillars. Now, if you're completely new to the CIMA exam and that made no sense to you whatsoever, just understand that there are essentially 4 levels to the CIMA qualification, and you need to pass each level to become CGMA qualified. So, the standard path is the bottom of the ladder, work your way to the top approach. And this will cost you £85, and then you'll have to pay a subscription fee every year. So just bear that in mind, an £85 fee to register. Now the alternative is the professional gateway, and this is a bit different. Much higher price, £425, but the idea is that you skip over essentially 1/3 of the qualification. So instead of starting off at the bottom, where you have to go through the certificate and operational level, you just jump straight into the middle and start off with the management case study exam before you move on to the strategic level and then finish your qualification. Sounds a lot faster, doesn't it? Well, in order to qualify for the professional gateway, you do need to meet some requirements, which we'll get to in a second. But just bear in mind, those are your two options. And the £425 does come with some add-ons. So once again, your choice is between starting from the bottom, which may be necessary if you don't have any of the prerequisite qualifications, or starting in the middle, which has its pros and cons. Then once all that is done, think about when you want to sit your exam. You don't actually need to set an exam when signing up to CIMA Mind, but it's always good to have a little bit of motivation, which can be helpful if you have an idea of when it is you want to sit it. So, some notes on exemptions. To begin with, you can get exemptions for different parts of the CIMA qualification based on your background. So you can choose to be exempt from some exams or be exempt from an entire level. Now, you can find out if your previous qualifications apply by going to the CIMA exemption search database. To do that, all you need to do is go to Google or your search engine of choice, type in CIMA exemptions, and it should be probably the top result. And when you click on CIMA exemptions, and you'll be presented with this page. And what you need to do is go to the second step. So search for your qualification on our database and search the database. Type in your institution and you'll be provided with a list of the qualifications that CIMA consider to be valid for exemptions. So as an example, I just type in Oxford University, something everyone knows about. You click on University of Oxford, and you can see the different qualifications that are offered by the University of Oxford that you can use to gain exemptions. And if I click on Masters of Business Administration, you can see that we've got a list of subject names that you are exempt from if you were to take this path. Now, of course, there are some benefits to doing this, namely that you get to skip a good portion of the qualification, saves you some money in the long term, seeing as you don't have to pay for basically 8 exams if you start off from the bottom, and instead you just pay an upfront £425, which will include your £85 entry fee, and then it will also include 1 attempt at the management case study exam, which you need to pass in order to move on to the next level, which is where it can get a bit harder. So because you're coming in so far in the middle of the CIMA qualification, skipping operational, skipping certificate, even skipping parts of management to go straight to the case study exam, you are at a disadvantage compared to other students who have been revising the CIMA qualification from the beginning. Now, does that mean you have no chance of passing? Absolutely not, of course not. It just means you need to put in the effort. What this little chart down here illustrates, which are all the pass rates for the most recent exams as of recording this video, is that students who went the gateway route had a lower pass rate than those who didn't. Now, all that means is that you just can't walk into the exam and expect to pass because you've had some qualifications in finance in your education. You do still have to put in the effort, but if you put in the effort, you can still pass and skip a good chunk of the exam. So just bear that in mind, and that will actually factor into the next stage, which is picking a provider. You can increase your odds of passing not just the CIMA case study exam, but all CIMA exams by picking a good provider. So you should take note of any review scores and the range of products they offer to help narrow down your choices. The bare minimum they should be offering is some sort of study text that you can follow that covers all the exam topics. Additional things to consider would be things like video recordings, revision notes, and most usefully, mocks. Any kind of mock questions for case study or objective test exams they have on offer will be invaluable to you when preparing for the exam. And lastly, always look for free trials. Many good providers will offer some sort of free trial or sample of their products for you to try so that you can see if their materials work for you and fulfill your needs. And so naturally, I'm of course going to recommend our own materials, which cover all of the above and then some. So not only do we provide study texts, videos, mocks, but we also provide tutor support along with the materials, which for gateway students in particular, you may find useful if you have any questions concerning the case study and wish to ask the tutor to explain the process for you. So if you'd like to peruse our products and see if we meet your needs, you can go to www.astranti.com/CIMA to navigate the different CIMA products we have, and services of course. So then finally, once you've done all that, you have to now book your exam, and the process is pretty easy. Simply log into your CIMA account, make sure you're registered, and go to the studying tab that you can see in this image on screen. And you'll see then the option to schedule your exam. Once there, you'll need to book an exam through Pearson VUE. And the fourth step is probably quite important depending on your preference and what your circumstances are. You need to decide to pick between a physical and virtual exam. Now, a physical exam, you have to go to a test center to sit it, whereas an online exam or virtual exam, you sit it at home with your computer. Now, there are some conditions you need to be aware of, and I recommend you go to the CIMA website and look at the online exam rules, rather than listen to me explain them, because the CIMA website will have the most up-to-date rules at the time of your search. So go there, have a look at what the online exam is, see if it is what you'd like to do, make that decision when booking the exam, and there you go. You now have a date, work towards it, and I'm sure you will pass your exam with flying colours. And that brings me to the end, and I hope I've helped you make a small amount of progress to achieving your CIMA qualification. And if you enjoyed that video and would like to see more from us, be sure to like and subscribe, and consider following us on social media like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, or go to our website linked in the description.